Music. Reverend Mary Hawk.
Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Witch Rising. I'm Reverend Mary Hawk. Hope you're doing well. And we're going to continue our focus on attacks on pagans, Wiccans, and our public rituals. To start with, I am going to share a Facebook article with you, and this is coming from Salem, Massachusetts. And I just wanted you to see the picture. This is from the annual Festival of the Dead, which happened on the Salem Common on Halloween night. Tuesday, October 31st, Christian Day, Brian Kane and Salem Witches gathered for their annual circle on Salem Common to celebrate our loved ones who have crossed over. And they had a group of protesters, 3 individuals. One had been there last year. A Christian did approach them, asking them to stay outside or join in respectfully. One of the men did give his word that he would remain outside the circle. As the ritual proceeded, though, 2 individuals joined the spiral dance with the very large cross. I'm going to scroll down so you can see this here. And wound up standing right next to the altar with it, also endangering their sound equipment, disrupting the ritual. One of the organizers did ask everyone to just continue with the ritual and the magic, although the article notes that getting witches to do something is a bit like herding cats, which I have to agree with. And some people did surround the protesters. As you can see from the picture, the police who were there surrounded the protesters within the circle but would not remove them, stating that this was what their lieutenant had said they had to do. So they had to continue their ritual with the protesters in the circle. And good evening to Lynn and Ed. Thank you so much for joining me. Anybody watching, go ahead and throw a greeting in chat, or if you disagree with me, I welcome respectful disagreement, but I did want to bring attention to this because Salem, Massachusetts really has been the home for witches for many years. October is a huge month for the city of Salem. And hello to Tina. Thank you for joining me this evening, or whatever time zone you're in. It's evening where I'm at. Hey, Renee, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. So the article goes on to discuss the fact that they Christian later met with the mayor and the chief of police to discuss what happened, and going forward, they may have resolutions, but many people were upset because they came to this ritual and they did not feel safe, because Salem is a city where witches have resided mostly in peace for decades, and the police have graciously been a part of that peace. There was a collective breakdown here, and they do look forward to being part of the strategy to prevent that in the future. So once more, and I want to make it clear that this is a strategy we are seeing from Christian nationalists to protest and disrupt our rituals. There were only 3 individuals involved, and I do want to make that clear, but that is enough to disrupt the ritual, make people feel unsafe. And again, we had this huge cross right up there at the altar. And of course, I have mentioned we had protesters at Nashville Pagan Pride Day, where I'm one of the coordinators. They didn't haul a cross, but they did bring an egg crate to stand on, and they stood just past our entrance, basically haranguing everyone who entered or left, telling us that we're going to hell. And some people who attended Jacksonville, Florida Pagan Pride told me about their protesters, and they did bring a large cross. And as Ed points out, it's really a pain to do that. And it is. Hauling a cross that size, even if it's made of relatively light materials, has got to be a pain to get it there and then walk around with it. This took a lot of premeditation on somebody's part. So, once more, we are under attack. Our rituals are being disrupted. Our stores are being intimidated. Last week, I was reporting on the store in Pennsylvania, where the owner had a visit from the police chief to remind them that technically tarot readings are illegal in Pennsylvania. And I do want to throw this up here. If anyone has information on a story you would like to see me cover, please contact me at witchrisingpwtv@gmail or at witchrising on Facebook. I do want to hear from you, especially anything about attacks on pagans and pagan events. Now, the next thing I want to cover is we had a story last week. I mentioned that Pastor Greg Locke would be holding a book burning on Halloween night here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, which is just down the road from where I live, both of us, and just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Uh, he held this occult burning event. It was live streamed on YouTube. I will throw up a link to that on the Witch Rising Facebook page if anybody has the stomach to watch it. It's over 2 hours long. Uh, it started with music and I'm not going to call it a sermon. I'm going to call it a rant by Locke about the occult and bringing children up on the stage to be delivered from occult forces, with Locke congratulating their parents on not sending them out for the great evil of trick or treating for candy that night, but instead bringing them to his church, which incidentally is in trouble for breaking zoning regulations for erecting a tent without proper permits. They did indeed hold a burning of, I'll get you a picture of the bonfire now. So they did burn several occult objects, including books and other objects too numerous to name, according to Locke. And I'm not sure what it is he burned, since it was too numerous to name. So here we go. And I'll put all these sources up on Witch Rising after this broadcast, so you can go and take a look at them. So he is constantly attacking so-called witches. He also last year called out, earlier this year, it was in January, called out 6 women who were supposedly witches in his congregation, threatening to release their names and addresses if they did not leave. I don't have any further information on that, but yes, so he's using all kinds of intimidation techniques. He's also virulent anti-LGBTQ as well. And I'm also just going to throw this out. For my personal practice, I very much see Samhain and Halloween as 2 separate holidays. And I'd love to see some comments on this in chat, because for me, Samhain is a very sacred holiday where we celebrate our ancestors. And hello to Janet. Thank you for joining. But at Samhain, we celebrate our ancestors. We do rituals in their honor. We may attempt to communicate with them. It's very sacred. And I see Halloween as just a fun holiday. We dress up in a costume, go to a party, give out candy. I celebrate both as 2 entirely separate holidays. I attended 2 Samhain rituals this year, actually on the weekend before the 31st, one on Friday, one on Saturday. Also went to a Halloween party, and then I gave out candy to trick-or-treaters on the 31st because I adore seeing kids in their costumes. I just love it. I love handing out the candy to them. And there's nothing occult at all about that to me. And hello, Melanie. So I would love to see some discussion about that because for how most people celebrate Halloween, I don't see anything occult at all about it. And Renee says, I see Samhain and Halloween as two different holidays as well. So thank you. If anybody else has a comment on it, I would love to see it. So, yeah, I am quite positive that no one ever got occult contamination of any sort by wearing a costume and trick-or-treating. Even the scares about poison candy didn't really amount to anything. So I just wanted to throw that out because that gets more and more press too now, that there's something wrong with children dressing up and trick-or-treating. And I don't understand that. And Janet also says, I agree, they are two different things. So, yeah, and I personally, from the point of view of a child getting dragged to church to be ranted at when all your friends at school got to go out and get candy just sounds plain horrible. It really, really does. I just can't imagine how those kids must have felt. So this is what I've got to talk about tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Again, I am always looking for tips on attacks on witches and paganism or any other story you'd like to see me cover. You can reach me at witchrisingpwtv@gmail or Witch Rising on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining in tonight and saying hello in the chat room. And I wish everyone a good day, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. And blessed be everyone.
Witch Rising. With Reverend Mary Hawk. Purple Goddess by Reverend Don Lewis. Angry Uterus by Carrie Wagner. Announcer, Don Hawk. Music written and performed by Don Hawk. In loving memory of Mary Frankie Clark.